Remastered games are becoming the norm in the gaming industry, and I don't think necessarily it's terrible. Making games is growing more complex daily. Remastering an old profitable game can help fund new projects, and it isn't as much of a time crunch as creating a new game. It can also help developers learn new hardware to make games when new consoles come out. Would I want a new IP or a new game? Sure, but I can't say I hate playing an upgraded version of a game I like. What I'm growing more fond of is remakes of games. When the developer remakes the game from the ground up. This type of game development is becoming increasingly popular as many people want to replay a game and some people have never experienced it before. The remake of Dead Space this year was done exceptionally well. Reliving those jump scares with next-gen graphics and gameplay made a game initially created in 2008 look and feel new. In this video, I will give you my top 10 games that I think should get a remake. If you like remakes as much as I do though, please leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Number 10, Call of Duty World at War. Call of Duty World at War is my favorite Call of Duty campaign by a wide margin, and I still feel it's the most unique. It was published back in 2008 by Activision and developed by Treyarch. Now, it takes place like many of the Call of Duty games at the time in World War II, but focuses on the Pacific side of the war, so we get a closer combat missions and the enemies blend in more in the background, which made it harder to spot them right away. World at War's claim to fame might be that it was the first time players got to try zombie mode in Call of Duty, which has become a massive hit with player base and new fans to the game. World at War featured a cooperative gameplay mode with up to 2 players via split screen on consoles or 4 players online to play multiplayer for the first time in any Call of Duty game. World at War also had more mature themes regarding its single player campaign, making it one of the most memorable Call of Duties I have ever played. Number 9, Castlevania. Castlevania was one of the first games I ever became obsessed with wanting to finish on the original NES. It has inspired many video games over the years, and for some reason, it doesn't get the love that I feel it deserves when it comes to this type of conversation. It was initially released in 1986, but came to North America in 1987, and I still remember my brother getting it for his birthday and the excitement we felt when we opened up that menu screen. It felt like nothing we'd ever seen before or played. I had been playing mainly platformers on the NES or sport-themed games then. Castlevania was the first game where I felt I wanted to follow along with a story and wanted to know more about the Belmont family and the pursuit of Dracula. There were many hidden items that you could find in Castlevania, and there was no internet back then, so once someone found one, word of mouth traveled fast, so we all knew where to get them. Number 8, Siphon Filter. Siphon Filter is up there with Splinter Cell, where fans ask for this game to come back year after year. We're getting another Splinter Cell, so now we need Siphon Filter. Siphon Filter was a Sony first-party game that used the 989 Studios logo from 1999. Developed by Bend Studio, you are a special agent named Gabe Logan who is trying to stop an international terrorist, Eric Romer, from using the biological weapon Siphon Filter. Sony currently has many first-party action games, but nothing like Siphon Filter. An espionage game with spycraft. You can play Siphon Filter now thanks to PlayStation Plus Premium, and it has new trophy support, but I highly recommend you stay away from this game as it suffers from old game feels old and might change your opinion on the series. I loved the series back then, but playing it again on the PS5 was hard, making it a great candidate for a remake. Number 7, Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman Arkham Asylum could go down as the most influential superhero game ever. Many games now use the combat system. One could say it's perfect. Batman Arkham Asylum was released in 2009 by Rocksteady Studios, which few people had heard of at the time. I'm a huge Batman fan and was playing many games on my Xbox 360 when I saw this massive sale on the game in a flyer for its launch day. It was priced $49.99 at launch, and I generally think this helped the game. Everybody I know who was going into gaming at the time jumped on this deal and fell in love with the game. I finished Arkham Asylum on the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the PS4. It's the classic Batman story of Batman versus the Joker, but it also has Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker, and indeed one of the best performances for both of them ever in a video game. There are Riddler trophies that aren't as mind-numbing to collect as they are in other Batman games in this series, and there is a massive collection of Batman villains to fight and see throughout the game. The art direction is some of the best I've ever seen in a video game, and it desperately needs to be honored with a remake so we can all relive its glory again. Number 6, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver was released for PC and PlayStation in 1999 by Crystal Dynamics and published by Eidos Interactive. It was even released for Sega Dreamcast in 2000, the poor Dreamcast. Taking place 15,000 years after the events of Blood Omen, Soul Reaver chronicles the journey of the vampire-turned-wraith Raziel, lieutenant to the vampire lord Kain. Kain kills Raziel, but is relived by the Elder God to become the Soul Reaver. Kain kills Raziel, but is revived by the Elder God to become his Soul Reaver and exact revenge. Raziel shares his title with Kain's sword, the Soul Reaver, which he acquires during the game. Legacy of Kain is a hack and slash, but with fantastic level design and compelling story. Amy Hennig, one of the best writers in gaming, helped write and design Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. I believe this is another great game that has a cult following and many would love a remake. Number 5, Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger was released in 1995 by Square for the SNES, and it is touted as one of the best video games and probably the best RPG of all time. Chrono Trigger takes place in an Earth-like world with eras such as the Prehistoric Age, in which primitive humans and dinosaurs share the Earth, the Middle Ages, with knights, monsters, and magic, and post-apocalyptic future where destitute humans, sentient robots struggle to survive. That's a mouthful. The characters frequently travel through time to obtain allies, gather equipment, and learn information to help their quest. Now, I want to be honest when I say that Chrono Trigger is on this list because all I ever hear from everybody is they should remake this game, but I've never played it. I would say it's the one game I hear about the most that I've never played. I want them to remake the game so I can play it that everybody is talking about. I saw it recently in a retro game shop and it was selling for over $300, so I did not buy the game. Please remake this game so I can play it on modern consoles with a modern look. Number 4, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was released for the Nintendo 64 in 1998 and instantly became my favorite Zelda game of all time. I never thought that any Zelda game could top my experience from 1986's The Legend of Zelda. I would say that Zelda games taught me how to memorize, how to solve puzzles, and my brother even drew up a whole map of The Legend of Zelda, so we knew where to go before we even got the issue of Nintendo Power that had it all in it. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time stole my heart with its world building, level design, and one of the best Zelda stories ever. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is the highest rated game currently on Metacritic and is debated as one of the best video games ever. The visuals blew me away with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, as it was the first time I truly understood what the term open world meant. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is the first time that Zelda games have reached their true potential and introduced so many new systems. They still use them in Zelda games today. Nintendo, for everything that is holy, please remake The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I know you like money. Number 3, Metal Gear. Metal Gear could probably be number 1 on this list, but because it's my list, it's number 3. I love this game and can't think of many more games that need a remake than Metal Gear. Metal Gear was released in North America for the NES in 1988, and the franchise's popularity in North America has been growing ever since. So much can be said about Metal Gear, but my memories are my brother getting it on the NES and me watching him play it and falling in love with that franchise. Metal Gear was made in 8-bit and the level design was unmatched then. To think what it could look like now puts a smile on my face. We're getting Metal Gear Solid Snake Eaters sometime soon, but why not start where it all began and remake the franchise from the ground up? Someone get Kojima and Konami in a room with a dump truck of money and make this happen, because it would be huge. The game was released on the NES, so think how good it would look with upgraded graphics and cutscenes. Metal Gear is begging to be remade, and the gamers want it too. Number 2, Infamous. I will champion this until Sony does, which is making a remake of Infamous. Infamous was released on the PlayStation 3 in 2009 to critical acclaim, one of my favorite series on the PlayStation, and I hope that the last big release in the franchise isn't Infamous Second Son. The game's concept has Cole McGrath as an anti-hero who can choose the light or dark path, giving them 2 ways to go, adding to the replayability. Cole as a character is iconic, and seeing what Santa Monica Studios did with God of War and revitalizing that franchise, I can't help but wonder what a remake of Infamous could do for that franchise. The gameplay alone is fantastic with action-packed combat and thought-out story. If we're doing remakes of The Last of Us, I don't see why not to take a chance on Infamous. Give Sucker Punch another kick at the can. I love Ghost of Tsushima, but Infamous feels like a home run waiting to happen. I understand you won't be able to turn it into a live service game or find ways to monetize it, but let's harken back to the PS3 and early PS4 games and make excellent single-player campaign games again. We have had some amazing ones recently, and I can't help but think that Infamous would be a fan favorite and also bring in new audiences. Number 1, Bioshock. Here we are at number 1, and what game could be better to ask for a remake than Bioshock? We know Bioshock 4 is being worked on, and we hope to see something from the team working on it soon, but I can't help but think we need to start from the beginning again with the Bioshock franchise and remake the first game. The location of Rapture is its own character, and Andrew Ryan tells a fantastic story throughout the game via the recordings. The world building and design of the game are captivating and original. When you hear the thud of the Big Daddy coming, you know you must be prepared for a battle. They could do so much more with this horror aspect of the game now with improved graphics, even though the game was only released in 2007. Using powers in your combat mixed with other weapons in your arsenal feels fun, and the action never feels repetitive. The varieties of splicers and your main enemies keeps you guessing at every turn, and then the secrets you find to look hard enough are rewarding. So many of the techniques from Bioshock have inspired the games we play now and love. If you go back and play the remasters, I will say that Bioshock doesn't feel like you're playing old game as old, but think of the possibilities a remake can do to such a fantastic game. That's my list. So let me know in the comments what you think of it and what games you'd want remade instead. If you like that, please drop us a like and subscribe if you haven't already.